Hi, welcome back to Flint's Collectibles. Today we are going to do a full read-through and review of Invincible Ultimate Collection Volume 3. But before we do that, if you could go down below and like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the content, let's go ahead and dig in. Alright, so here's Invincible Ultimate Collection Volume 3. Here's the front of the cover. Then here's the spine of the book, like the rest of them. They'll have the same matching spines. And then here's the back of the book. It does collect issues 25 to 35. And also as well as the packed volume 2, issue number 4. And it does have a cover price of $39.99. So let's go ahead and get the dust jacket off. So here's it without the dust jacket. It's the exact same as the dust jacket has. Same spine, same back. I have been asked where did I get these, because I guess the older print is a black cover under the dust jacket, and this one I got off of Amazon. So I don't know if it's a newer printing, but I do like these a lot more. You can take off the dust jacket if you want. So let's go ahead and dig in. Alright, so we open up in a nice dark green cover page. Invincible Ultimate Collection Volume 3, created by Robert Kirkman and Corey Walker. Then we jump into issue 25 with an awesome looking cover. Here's Invincible, Mark talking to the comic guy, and then he gets a call. And it's one of the Guardians of the Globe members being under attack, and he helps them, and he's like, I didn't need any help. And then here's Monster Girl getting out of a robot because they're trying to not use her powers because she ages too fast, as we found out in the other volume. And then here's Mark talking to William. There's a friend missing, they're trying to figure out where he is. And then Science Dog, this fictional character, comes to Mark, and he's like, I don't know how he's real because he's not a real superhero. He's from a comic book. And then they start talking, and it ends up being this alien looking creature saying, we need help. And then Mark's going to go tell his mom, and she's still drinking a lot. And Cecile wants to know where he's going, and he don't trust it. While at the same time, they were talking to her friends about, is this normal for him to keep leaving all the time? Is something going on? And then Mark ends up leaving anyway to go with this creature to their planet, which is like a bunch of blue insect looking people. And then bam, his dad's there. And that's where that issue ends. And then we go to issue 26. And then it's still the whole, after they had that big fight down in the volume 2 or 1. And he's just full of emotions, but then he ends up just becoming real emotional and hugging his dad because he really misses him, and his dad was ready to have to fight if he had to. And then they start talking, and here's Cecile, and he's going to his mom, showing up to tell her something, but she's like, hey, don't be showing up inside of my house just randomly. And then here's Robot. You find out more about this here in a little bit, about how this thing that is actually a robot is trying to find a way to get a better body because he's using a robot right now. And then Invincible's dad's first telling him about what happened and after he left, and how where he comes from, the Ultramites would be really upset about what he did, and how he created a whole new life here, and they age slower with the people that live there. Or sorry, they age faster with the people that live there. So they die within a very short lifespan. And how he fell in love, and then he starts to talk about that, how he has another kid, and this is Mark's little brother. So let me go into issue 27. It starts with this crazy looking dude. And then all these people, while Mark is gone, are having to fight all these bad guys, or this bad guy, and stop him by themselves. And they have this big old fight down all together. Awesome looking artwork. While that's going on, Mark's still trying to get more information about his new little brother that he has, and he's talking to his dad about stuff that's been going on. And then these people under attack because he was trying to hide there so that the Vulture wouldn't kill Mark, but now they found him. He thought it'd take him longer than it did. So he's like, you should have been training. And then he's like, all right, so we gotta go ahead and jump in and fight now. So he takes Mark's little brother and his new insect wife to this hidden place, but it ends up being one of the Vulture Mice had found them. So then we go to issue 28, which is now we're finding out what's going to happen with this guy. He's like, oh boy, there's an offspring and then you, and now we got to take care of both of you. So Mark tries to get them out of there. He's going as fast as he possibly can. He's never gone this fast, and he thinks he's going fast enough, and you can tell he's right there on top of him. And then Mark's dad jumps in, Omni-Man, and takes this guy down. And while that's going on, the Guard of the Glove have Black Samson back. And he's even stronger than he was before. And then here's the two twin guys. They're trying to come up with a plan to fix one of them and figure out who's the clone and which one's not. And then Amber's getting upset because with Mark leaving all the time and stuff, and then his mom is still drinking. And then Mark and his dad are trying to get his little brother and Omni-Man's new wife out of there. So they end up knocking that guy out and then going back to see what's left, and all these creatures are killed and destroyed. And Mark's dad is upset because he was ruling this place and taking care of them. And then here come the Vulture Mice with issue 29. And he starts choking Mark. And he's trying to play it off kinda. And this guy's like, we had me worried that you were going a little soft. And then bam, he just starts fighting that dude. And then they have a big old beat down brawl because they're planning on taking care of these guys while they got his little brother and Omni-Man's new wife in the cave. So they have this big old fight. While that's going on, here's the twins again. They're trying to kill each other, so one of them killed the other one. And then this panel is awesome because in the background there's a whole nother story going on about the fight scene, but then on top of it there's this awesome double spread panel which looks amazing with all the blood and gore and this full out brutal fight where they're smashing each other into one another. And then this dude they thought he took out, he's holding up his pants while his organs are all falling out, and he takes care of Omni-Man with one swift blow, which is insane. So then the Vulture Mice take Omni-Man away for his crimes, and then they leave Mark in charge of Earth now, and he's brutally beaten. They kind of patched him up so he could get back to his planet, which is Earth. So he goes back to the cave to tell them what's going on. And then issue 30 is Mark now in charge of this place, kind of helping out with things. So the wife Omni-Man has now aged because it's been a pretty long time since Mark's been back home. So then back on Earth, here's his mom. She walks in the door, and then there's Mark right back home because he helped them out and they said he could go. So now he's the ruler, or the person that has so much time for Earth to take it over. And then while that's going on, he's like, hey, I got some stuff to tell you about. I have a little brother. And then you can tell his skin's purplish. So then his mom's like, whoa, wait a second, where did he come from? So then he starts explaining to her what's going on and how he ran into his dad, and now he has a little brother to take care of, and his dad's gone. And then here are the two twins again. They're firing up this equipment, and then Robot says, I got a job for you guys. And then here is Mark again at the Pentagon talking to Cecile and saying how Cecile's upset because he didn't obey his orders, and he's saying next time you better obey what I said. And then Mark's going back home to get out of these goofy looking clothes to his normal clothes. William's still upset because they haven't found that guy who's his friend. And then Mark's going back to see Amber, and she's all upset, but then she's happy to see him again. And then go to issue 31. As you can tell, Mark's little brother is aging pretty quickly since he first saw him. So they're talking about his aging process and how it's starting to kind of slow down, but he's still got that blood where he ages faster. So then the twins are helping this guy get into a more suitable body. And then there's all these guys trying to fight this guy because Mark just got back. So they're all going after him, and he's taking over all these people's bodies because that's kind of like his power. So the Mark jumps in and he takes care of it. He comes back home. His mom's starting to really like having the little brother around. She wasn't sure what she was going to do because it's a lot to throw on his mom right now. And William's getting even more upset about this guy missing and Mark's not doing anything. So Mark's trying to balance that while having a love life with Amber. And then here's this creepy guy. He's turning people into like robots like this at the college. And then this is an interesting side story. This guy the astronaut that came back, it was actually one of those aliens from Mars, and he's been holding this form this whole time. You can see him kind of just relax, and he says superheroes. And then Mark and Amber go to Africa to see Adam Eve, and she's created this whole life. She's gotten her powers much stronger than before. And then here's issue 32. Awesome cover right there. And then this just ends up being like Adam Eve kind of like, I think, slowly falling more liking Mark and wanting to have like a relationship with him eventually down the road, hopefully. And she's showing him how her powers have progressed, and she can now make coffee. She can do all sorts of different things. And then here's Amber showing up, and they're like, hey, this won't take like a second. And then there's a Garden Globe. Here's the Shapesmith. And it's that side story from that guy from Mars. He's actually become like a superhero. And he's like, this is a lot of fun doing superhero type stuff. Go back to Adam Eve. And he ends up taking Amber up somewhere safe because there's a stampede coming, and he goes too fast and she's like panicking. We go back to the two brothers again. And then now Amber's made all this food and they're gonna eat. And then somebody calls and says, hey, you need to get home as fast as you can for your mom. And then he's worried, and then boom, there's this guy from before who took all the different versions of himself and turned himself into like this ultimate version of himself from different universes. And he's here. You can see there's blood on Mark's mom, so Mark's really upset. For issue 33, there's an ugly looking face there. And then he's like threatening Mark, and he's all saying, you need to think about this, and you need to realize what you did. I'm going to cause harm to your mom and your little brother. So he sends Mark through these different portals, and like this portal is like full of a bunch of dinosaurs Mark has to escape from. Then he brings him back, and he's like keeps throwing these twists at him. Now this one right here is kind of funny because it looks like Doc Ock, and that looks like Spider-Man's arm and foot, which I thought was just interesting to toss into here. I don't know if that's actually what it is, but that's pretty cool. So he just keeps throwing them through different portals, through different places. Like this one, it reminds me of The Walking Dead, which is Robert Kirkman's story. So then he's starting to hurt his mom, and then Mark's now in this place, and he finally gets out of it because the portal pops up. And then he just is full on enraged by this dude, and he's going through different times, as you can tell right here. And he's just full on upset and mad. And he just started beating this dude, and he just beats him to a pulp of nothing but blood. And then he's like, oh my gosh, what did I do? So then here's issue 34. And now Adam Eve is taking Amber to where Mark is. And he's just like fully stunned. Mark's just like, what did I do? Did I do the right thing? Did I do the wrong thing? And now this little creepy guy that was controlling Robot from Guardian of the Globe is now an actual person. And he took the form of one of the people that's in the Guardian of the Globe as like a look-alike. So then now the robot is controlling the robot and taking those two twins out and not wanting to pay them. We get back to Mark, and he's just conflicted on what to do and what's happening. And then bam, the team members of the Guardian of the Globe show up, but they look older, and they're all like telling them how we're actually from the future and we come back to save you because in our timeline you don't come around because you fall into this rut and it's going to be okay. And then this version of Adam Eve tells him, I just want you to know that you need to tell her whether you like her and let her move on, or tell her that you love her because she loves you. So then they're having this conversation about like, well, we shouldn't have changed like the future of another timeline by giving him that information about the love part. Then here's the twins again, and Robot has this ultimate looking Hulk Buster suit of himself, about to take them out. This is where Mark blasted out, and they said it was a gas leak, and Cecile said we got you handled, we covered it up, you don't have to worry. And then Mark's back to check on his mom, see how she's doing, and his little brother. And then here's issue 35. And it's this lady who shows up. She's like, hey, I know I'm here to help you guys out because I know you got a superhero little brother, and I've been into the situation before. I got the whole story of what's going on, so that helps out a lot for his mom to raise someone who has superpowers. And then here's the Guardian of the Globe showing up with Robot now as a person, and they're saying here he is. And then Mark wants to talk to his Taylor, who's his dad's friend, and talking about Amber and Eve and Adam Eve and the news about from the future and what should he do, and they're having a conversation, and it pretty much ends out that he's gonna stay with Amber. But then at the library, Amber meets this guy who I think kind of has a thing for Amber. But I think Mark comes to the conclusion that he wants to stay with Amber. And then earlier, the last thing that his dad told him before the Ultramites had taken him away was that he needs to read his books. So he asks the tailor what were the books that my dad was talking about, and he's like, oh yeah, your dad used to write like sci-fi type books. So then Mark's like, well, why would my dad want me to read these? So then these are actual books right here. This is some of the pages of it. And then Mark starts putting two to two together, and he's like, wait a second. My dad is telling me how to beat them. And he's talking about the Ultramites and their weakness. He's twisted it into the story so that Mark knows how to beat the Ultramites, which is pretty cool, like gives him an edge. So that's the end of this volume. So this does include the Pact issue number 4, I think. And this is just a little extra story you can read. Pretty cool. They tossed it in there for free. And after this story is done, Then we get into some of the artwork, the rough sketches, which are really cool to look at just to see how things are drawn, like without color, Omni-Man, just rough artwork of the different characters. I think that's really cool to look at and see how things were created and how much detail goes into like drawing all of this stuff that's in the story. So that's what all this is, just a bunch of it. And the afterword. Alright, well there it is, Invincible Ultimate Collection Volume 3. My takeaway thoughts have to be, if you have not watched Invincible on Amazon Prime, you definitely need to watch that, and you will not regret it at all. And if you get a chance, you need to read Volume 1, 2, and now Volume 3, because the story just keeps getting even better and better. There are some things that are in Volume 3 that are not in the show yet, but there are some things in the show that are from Volume 3. The show does follow like slightly different path, but I definitely enjoy the story. I cannot wait to see what happens with Mark's little brother. Is Omni-Man gonna make it? Like, is he gonna be killed? What's gonna happen there? And then I can't wait to see how Mark gets stronger and stronger and what happens with that. And is he gonna choose to fall in love with Adam Eve, or is he gonna stay with Amber? We have to go ahead and find out in Volume 4. So until next time, peace.